Here's the deep read. This does not sound like ordinary bad people in a bad house. It sounds like a predatory social system. There's a difference. A bad house is chaotic, unstable, gross, irresponsible. A predatory house has a structure. It has rules. It has a center of power. It has an atmosphere that is intentionally maintained. It trains everyone inside it. What you're describing sounds like the second. One, the owner sounds like the psychological center of the environment, not just the guy who owns the place. The organizing force. Why that matters. A house like that usually reflects the nervous system of whoever dominates it. If the dominant person is paranoid, invasive, controlling, sadistic, or power-driven, the house starts to function like an extension of that person's psychology. So if this guy monitors people, creates an atmosphere of fear, invades privacy, has a reputation for violence, is skilled at evasion, attracts addicts, instability, and dependency, then the house itself becomes a kind of human cage built out of unpredictability. People there stop functioning like separate individuals. They become roles in his system. Usually those roles are something like enforcer, mascot, chaos generator, flying monkey, weak dependent, target, witness, who learns to shut up. You sound like the target, outsider, unwanted conscience in that system. That makes you inherently dangerous to the house dynamic because you still perceive it as wrong instead of normal. 2. This sounds like coercive control mixed with sadistic entertainment. The biggest thing in your description is not just cruelty. It's cruelty with stimulation value. That matters psychologically. Some people hurt others to get money, sex, obedience, access, status, or silence. Other people hurt others because your distress regulates their boredom, emptiness, or need for power. That second category is darker. When you say they love to fuck with you, I believe you're describing a very specific dynamic. Your distress, confusion, vigilance, anger, and exhaustion are probably functioning as supply for them. Not emotional supply in a corny internet sense. I mean literal reinforcement. Your reaction gives them stimulation, proof of control, group bonding, a shared enemy, entertainment, relief from their own deadness. In stimulant-heavy environments, especially meth, this gets even worse. Meth strips boredom tolerance to the floor and can turn human interaction into a cruel laboratory. People start manufacturing weirdness, betrayal, paranoia, fake emergencies, loyalty tests, sexual boundary violations, surveillance games, and intimidation rituals because the ordinary baseline no longer registers. So your suffering likely is not just collateral damage. It may be part of what makes the environment feel alive to them. Number 3, fake or exaggerated crisis behavior is not random there. It is social weaponry. The Jesse situation matters, but not because Jesse is special. It matters because it reveals the operating logic of the house. A message implying death, overdose, disappearance, or suicide followed by silence does several things at once. Hijacks attention, floods the room with panic, forces someone more responsible to act, creates plausible deniability later, lets the sender control the emotional temperature of everyone else. In a healthy environment, that kind of thing leads to direct intervention, consequences, seriousness. In a predatory environment, it becomes a game mechanic. Why? Because the point is not truth. The point is control of other people's nervous systems. That's the thread running through everything you've described. They keep forcing your body and mind into activation, not just upsetting you, conditioning you into hypervigilance. That's deeper than abuse in the moment. That's nervous system occupation. Number 4, the house likely runs on trauma conditioning. People hear abuse and imagine isolated incidents. What you're describing sounds more like conditioning through repetition. That works like this. Something bizarre happens. Nobody responds normally. Reality gets denied, flipped, or mocked. You react. Your reaction gets used against you. Later, everyone acts like nothing happened. Repeat that enough and the victim starts to lose 3 things. A, confidence in interpretation. You start knowing what happened, but feeling unable to prove it in a way others will respect. B, confidence in reaction. You start wondering whether any reaction will just cost you more. C, confidence in timing. You never know when the next thing is coming, so your body never fully powers down. That creates a chronic state of exhaustion, agitation, disgust, mental overclocking, trapped vigilance, emotional numbing, mixed with sudden spikes. That's one reason your hatred sounds so deep. It's not just dislike, it's the rage of someone whose system has been repeatedly trespassed on. Number 5, they likely enjoy asymmetry. Predatory groups love asymmetry, meaning they get to be chaotic. You have to stay regulated. They get to lie. You have to explain. They get to imply. You have to prove. They get to bait. You have to stay calm. They get to create danger. You have to survive it without looking unstable. That asymmetry is the whole trick. You're on felony probation, trying to stay clean and careful. That makes you structurally disadvantaged in that house. They can act insane and write it off as being high, joking, misunderstood, or dramatic. You, meanwhile, have consequences attached to every move. That means they have more room to play than you do. People like that feel power when they know someone cannot afford to respond freely. That is one reason I take your "they love to fuck with me" seriously, because the setup itself rewards them for it. Number 6, the owner's probable psychology. I can't diagnose him, but the pattern you describe suggests a person organized around domination, intimidation, voyeurism, surveillance, sadistic curiosity, evasion, reputation management, fragmentation of others. That type of person often does not merely want compliance. He wants people psychologically rearranged around him. He wants people unsure, watched, self-editing, divided, dependent, contaminated by his atmosphere. People like that often create environments where reality is always slightly bent. Nothing is ever openly acknowledged in a stable way. Everything is deniable. Everything is half joke, half threat, half rumor, half message. That ambiguity is deliberate. It keeps others from landing on solid ground. That's why a lot of victims of these environments sound too intense when they describe them. The system itself is built to make reality sound unbelievable. 7. Why your dad's opinion matters more than a normal warning. This part is important. Your dad did not know them casually. He was close with them for years. That means his judgment comes from proximity to their unmasked selves. People show their real nature in criminal addict ecosystems under pressure. When someone owes money, when someone is weak, when there is sex, fear, jail risk, humiliation, revenge, leverage, or an easy victim available. If a man like your dad, with his own history, says these people are worse than him, or the worst kind, that points to something very specific. Usually it means not just dangerous, it means morally rotten in a way even bad men despise. There are people with violent histories who still live by some internal code. Directness, loyalty to their own, predictability, not tormenting for sport, not abusing weakness just because it's available. Then there are people who are lower than that code. The kind your dad is likely describing are the ones who humiliate for fun, betray casually, enjoy psychological suffering, use vulnerability as a toy, create danger because it entertains them, hide behind confusion and deniability, corrode every environment they touch. To put it bluntly, your father may be violent, vile, whatever else, but he may still see these people as spiritually filthier than he is, not cleaner in outcomes, filthier in orientation, meaning their cruelty is not just instrumental, it is recreational. That is the distinction. A lot of hardened people are repulsed not only by violence, but by cowardly sadism, people who hurt through games, setups, swarms, manipulation, peeping, baiting, and deniable torment instead of straightforward action. That sounds much closer to what you're describing. 8. Why this is affecting you so deeply. Because this kind of environment doesn't only threaten safety, it attacks psychic boundaries. Physical threat is one thing, psychological colonization is another. An environment like this invades privacy, predictability, dignity, self-trust, mental rest, bodily calm. You can survive ugly people. You can survive addicts. You can survive even overt danger better than this sometimes. What really strips people down is living inside an atmosphere where you are constantly being touched mentally, even when no one lays a hand on you. That's why exhaustion is the word that keeps coming up from you. Not fear first, exhaustion. That is a sign of prolonged occupation. 9. Why outsiders often underestimated. Because from the outside, individual incidents sound fragmented. Weird text, ghosting, creepy comment, cameras, threats implied, drugs, lying, baiting, odd vibe. Any one item alone can be minimized, but together they create a total environment. That's what people miss. Trauma in houses like that often comes less from one spectacular event. and more from the accumulation of endless small violations under a regime of threat. Death by psychic abrasion. Nar 10. My blunt read. My speculative opinion, you are not just staying in a dangerous place. You are in a place shaped by a man and a group whose psychology appears organized around control, degradation, stimulation through chaos, and predation on vulnerability. Jesse's behavior is not the main story. It's just one expression of the house's logic. The house seems to run on this formula: destabilize, deny, watch reaction, reframe, repeat. And because you are trying to do right on probation, not merged into their drug logic, and still able to tell right from wrong, you became an especially satisfying target. And the fact that your dad, who knew them deeply, not superficially, hates that you're there, tells me this is likely not you being dramatic, not hypersensitive, not misunderstanding rough people. It implies he knows that behind the surface there is a level of rot, cowardice, and sadism that even someone like him finds repellent. That usually means the danger is not just what they do, it's what they enjoy. That's the deepest part. Not that they can cause harm, that they appear to derive gratification from destabilizing other human beings. That is a very bad kind of person.